Here at the scene of the crime spree, right behind me.
Hey, Strange. Vice Mayor Strange, you'll address her properly. You can kiss my foot. Mr. Rickard, you're out of order.
FBI, we are asking you to investigate this council. Please look into this council, how they award contracts, the bid process, how they use their positions to benefit their friends and themselves, how they use their positions to attack residents and critics and neighbors and business competition. FBI, will you please look into this?
And I welcome the FBI here. If you notice, Mr. Thompson with his plea for the FBI and his watchdog group, this city runs the cleanest in this whole county. I guarantee
He was served a federal subpoena this morning.
Did receive a subpoena this morning, and we're going to cooperate 100% with the subpoena. And
most of you who were involved up here, you gaslighted me. You tried to say I was crazy. And now we know that that's not true. And there's a lot of other issues I've been asking about as well.
This is probably, and I'm not joking, this is probably going to be the craziest show I've ever done. This is going to be the craziest show I've ever done. You're not going to believe what I'm going to show you. And following up on yesterday's story, or the day before, how about the lightning and thunder? You guys hear that? So I'm scheduled to go to the Bay County government building tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock and talk to the comptroller / clerk of courts, Bill Kinsall, and the budget director to ask questions about the missing $8.7 million from the Builder Services Fund. They're going to answer my questions, and kudos for doing so. I mean, it's not like they should get a cookie for it, right? It's supposed to be done. And Commissioner Griffiths, he said if anybody wants to talk to them, they'll explain. Everything's on the up and up. So I will be there asking questions and taking notes and reporting back to you where the money is, right? And they explained on the Brian Russ radio show recently that the money was borrowed and put back with interest. So I have a few more questions. So we'll be following up on that as well. But for tonight, do you know that George Gaynor, who just resigned as the state senator, there are 40 state senators in Florida, he just resigned so that Jay Trumbull could run for that seat. George Gaynor took office as state senator in 2016. And when he got there, he became the chairman of the Transportation Committee. He also started a construction company with Derwin White and Adam Albritton. It's called Yellow Jackets. Now, Yellow Jackets LLC was started in 2016 when George Gaynor got to the Senate. He decided to start a construction company with Derwin White, who has passed away last year. And attorney Adam Albritton, who has pled guilty to corruption in Lynn Haven. So Adam Albritton, the attorney, had to leave the construction company that George Gaynor started with him. And it was just him and Derwin White. And I believe they built some schools and stuff in Vernon. Whoa, I think we're off the air. Are we off the air? Some of my equipment's off the air. I need to find out if we're still on the air. Oh boy. Somebody let me know if we're still on, because I'll keep going. It looks like we're still on. All right, cool. Some stuff's off here in the Liberty Lounge. All right, I got to tell you this story quick. So every year when you own an LLC, you have to submit an annual report to the state. and it has to be signed off on. By the end of the show, you're going to see who signed off on this year's Yellow Jackets LLC annual report. But I got to give you the rest of the context here, because this is really probably the craziest damn story I've ever had to tell you. All right, I'm going to show you these documents. Here it comes again. I'm going to show you these documents right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. All right. As the thunder rolls and the lightning strikes all around me. Do you remember last week when the search warrant affidavit was released that the government didn't want released, but it got released, probably from an administrative error? Well, they have resealed it. Look at this. This is a story from WMBB. The search warrant affidavit in the ongoing corruption case involving local elected officials is no longer on the federal court's website. It has been sealed again. All right. Now, yellow in that affidavit that has been sealed again, but is out all over the place. It's on WMBB's website. It's on my show the other day. This is interesting. On the affidavit, the search warrant affidavit that they didn't want it to get out, look what it says on point 44. In 2016, Derwin White and George Gaynor filed articles of organization for a Florida limited liability company for Yellow Jackets LLC with a principal office. I believe that is the GAC office. Okay. So this was in the company that we're talking about, was named, as was George Gaynor. He was the target. He was a target in the search warrant affidavit. They're investigating former Senator George Gaynor. So the company is Yellow Jackets. What is Yellow Jackets? I believe it's a construction company. And I first talked about Yellow Jackets here. It was in 2020. This was the day that Adam Albritton, the attorney for Lynn Haven, one of the founders of Yellow Jackets with George Gaynor and Derwin White, was arrested. I say on the second paragraph, he is also the attorney for Derwin White, president of GAC Contracting. He's also the attorney for Yellow Jackets, which is owned by Derwin White and State Senator George Gaynor. Okay. So that's about the time that Yellow Jackets came to my attention, because why in the hell is a state senator starting a construction company with the owner of GAC, or the president of GAC Contractors, and a municipal attorney at the very same time he starts off as a senator? Why would he do that? And remember, if you own a construction company, it would be really great to be the chairman of the transportation committee in the Senate. You know, roads, zoning, maybe not zoning, but roads, bridges, flyovers. You guys in Panama City know what's going on with the flyover that's coming right over where George Gaynor sold his car dealerships. Do you know about that yet? If not, you will. So now you're caught up on Yellow Jackets. So let's take a look at the annual report for Yellow Jackets for the year 2020. And let's take a look at who's on the annual report and who signed it.
but you're not going to believe who signed it in 2022. All right, I've got to thank my sponsors, and you're going to see the first annual report right after this.
Hand caught in the cookie jar? Sometimes bad habits continue even into adulthood. I'm El Saline, 850-215-0628. Let me help you.
It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan could make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com. All right, here's the annual report for 2021 that all LLCs have to file. Now take a look. At the very top, you see it's Yellow Jackets LLC, the company that was mentioned in the search warrant affidavit that has been resealed again. It was filed in April of 2021. And there's the address. The owner in the middle of the page, George Gaynor. On the bottom of the page, 2021, April, Derwin White signed it. Derwin R. White in April of 2021. And Derwin died unexpectedly at the very end of July. I believe it was the very end of July. All right. So he signed it as he always had, I believe, or at least his signature was on previous ones. Now, remember that Derwin passed away at the very end of July in 2021, unexpectedly. Let's take a look at this year, 2022's annual report. Well, this year, Derwin White signed it, or his signature is on there, more precisely. His signature is on there, but it's not Derwin R. White, it's just Derwin White. Same person. That's signed this year, April of this year. It was filed April 28 of this year. The address has changed. And you'll see in the middle of the page, I have not circled it, you'll see there's another signature that's Derwin R. White. Same person. Signed this year. Do you see that right in the middle? And that's for the registered agent. Now, when you fill these out, when you fill out an annual report for an LLC, you have to attest that you are the person who is authorized to fill out the form, and you are the person who signs the form. Several times you have to attest to that. What I'll save the big questions for the end. But do you not find that crazy as hell? So here we have for 2022, George Gaynor's construction company, Yellow Jackets LLC, filed the annual report filed this year. There's no Adam Albritton because he's been indicted and he's pled guilty. Derwin White passed away last year. So it's just George Gaynor. Who filled this out? It can't be Derwin White. And when you fill these out several times throughout the process, there is a pop-up that says, do you attest that you have the authorization to do this, that this is your signature? Now, you could say, here, let me try this here. Okay, so you could say, Bernie, this is easily explained, right? When you fill these out, there are autofills, auto-populates, where you click a thing and it pops up and you click, that's the same address, or if it's a different address, you have to enter a different address. And this was indeed this year a different address from last year. Different address. So it was just
an autofill mistake becomes harder to believe because the signature is different. Derwin R. White, Derwin White, same person. The address is different. And whoever filled it out and clicked that they attest, I am this person, couldn't have been that person. So what in the world is going on with George Gaynor's construction company? Did you know George Gaynor had a construction company called Yellow Jackets that is listed in the now resealed search warrant affidavit from last year? When the FBI and the sheriff's office executed the search warrant, this is part of the document that the FBI gave the judge to get the search warrant. Clearly, the FBI and the sheriff's office public trust unit was looking into Yellow Jackets and George Gaynor's involvement in Yellow Jackets. And so when I discovered this crazy story, I don't know what it means, but I understand that we have a George Gaynor who just resigned from the Senate, has a company that he says Derwin White signed off on this year. Crazy as hell. Crazy as hell. So could all of this have anything to do with why the government resealed the search warrant affidavit? I don't know. I don't know. But these are the big questions that now present themselves. Number one, who filed electronically this annual report in April and signed Derwin White's name to it? Who changed the address, which is different from last year? This is George Gaynor's construction company. That question, that's a big, big question, because by law, you have to attest that that's you several times, not just once. Let's just say it's very hard to make that mistake. Question number two. Why did George Gaynor start a construction company with Derwin White as soon as he got to the Senate and then was appointed chairman of the Transportation Committee? Another question. Could Yellow Jackets being named in that search warrant affidavit be a reason why the government rushed to reseal that document after the horse had left the barn, after the cat's out of the bag? I'll tell you another thing. It was about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that I did a show back in, I think it was 2016. I did a show in 2016 here on Facebook, one of my first shows. And I told you that George Gaynor had just been appointed to the Transportation Committee. Now, I didn't think a lot about that show when I did it. And I got notified a couple of years ago when this, if there is a big investigation in public corruption around here, I got notified that that show was removed. The only show ever removed. Somebody did not want you to know that George Gaynor was on the chairman of the Transportation Committee. Now, that's called a clue. That's something. It's kind of like when I say IOU and the good old boys flip out I know that there's something there. It's kind of like when I say $8.7 million is missing, was taken from the county's builder services fund, and they flip out my janky little Facebook show, right? I've been canceled here. Like, who's Bernie Thompson, right? Conspiracy theorist. And they bring on the county manager, Bob Micah, and the clerk of courts, Bill Kinsall, for an hour with no commercials. Somebody paid for that hour on the radio on Monday. Somebody paid for it. There were no commercials. Tells me something's there, right? There's something there. And I'll be there at the county in the morning at 10 o'clock to talk to Bill Kinsall, clerk of the clerk of courts and the budget director. I've got some questions about the builder services fund and where the money went. I have some specific questions, and I'll report back to you after it's over. Is this crazy as hell? Told you it'd be crazy. So here it is one more time. This is the 2021 annual report for Yellow Jackets, George Gaynor's Construction Company. And it was in April, and it was signed as usual at the time by Derwin White before he passed away. And after he passed away, this year, his signature appears twice on George Gaynor's Construction Company. Does all of this have anything to do with the coming flyover? I believe it's going to go over. Isn't it going to go over where George Gaynor's car dealerships were that he sold? These are big questions. And why is there not more curiosity from news outlets, from reporters? Clearly there's curiosity from the FBI because it's on that search warrant affidavit that this was a target. So they were curious. I don't know if they're doing anything about it, but they were curious. They did reseal that. It's been sealed again. After the cat's out of the bag, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't know the answers to these questions, but these questions have to be raised. They have to be asked. People need to run down the answers, and I hope that you'll help me. Oh, also, who's voted yet? Have you voted? Do you think that Brian Cloudis is going to defeat Griff Griffiths? I think they think he is.
While getting to know the residents of Bay County, I observed a pattern of complaints about corrupt career politicians, people born into politics, buying their way into politics, and creating self-serving policy for themselves, their families, and their friends. It's time to shake things up and get an America First patriot in office, one who is for the people and of the people.
One way to get answers is to send somebody to the state legislature who wants the answers and who wants the people to know the answers, even more importantly. The establishment is hoping that you don't vote. If there's a low turnout, they believe Griff Griffiths will win. It's up to you. This is winnable, just like Mary Coburn won and beat incumbent Jeff McConnell. This is the same. But it'll depend on whether or not you go and bring a family member or a friend and vote so that we actually have some representation and we start kicking this corruption to the curb, whether or not the FBI and the Sheriff's Office Public Trust Unit does anything about this or not. Also, school boards. How important are school boards right now? We have a chance to put the only conservative who the Bay County taxpayer group is endorsing as well. I hope you'll vote for Francis Keys Gordon. If you're fed up with parents being kept out of the loop in our schools, political nonsense crowding out basic education, and Bay District Schools, with its $500 million budget, spending too much money on contractors and consultants instead of on the students themselves, then vote for Francis Keys Gordon for school board on or before
August 23rd. If you appreciate this and you want to support my work, I hope you will. You can become a patron at patreon.com for as little as $5 a month. Crowdfunding is one way that I'm able to bring you this independent watchdog journalism and commentary. It's easy. It's anonymous. You can quit at any time. It's a really big deal to me. It doesn't take very long. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. I hope you'll link arms with me and support my efforts. And I also want to thank the Unknown Patriot for the support. God, I love that. Reminds me of the Gox. All I did was instead of the Unknown Comet, we made a few tweaks there. All right. Please tag anybody you think would find this interesting. Please share this show. The news outlets here are not going to tell you these things. This, I don't know. I mean, is there a simple answer? Bernie, it was just an autofill. Okay, but there are several times when you fill these out. Here it is again. When you fill these out, there are several times that it makes you attest that you are the person filling this out. It could not have been Derwin White. So this autofill thing, and the signatures are different and the address was changed. So the autofill thing becomes harder to imagine. But even if it's a simple answer, even if it's a simple mistake, it's a pretty big deal that the state senator went to Tallahassee, the capital, in 2016 and started a construction company with the president of GAC Contractors and became the chairman of the Transportation Committee. And the attorney who set it up for them has been indicted for public corruption, Adam Albritton, and has pled guilty. These are big deals, okay? And to beat a dead horse, that it was mentioned in the search warrant affidavit that came out last week and was resealed this week. That is effing weird. This is the craziest story I've ever told. All right, I'm going to sign out. I appreciate you being with me. Thank you. Thank you for your support. And I got so much more for you coming up soon.